I want to talk about going from zero to traction with your startup. This is the most important time, and it's probably the hardest. If you were to ask entrepreneurs, is it easier to take something from 0 to 1 million or take something from 2 million to 10 million? Most would tell you they would take the 2 million to 10 million all day long. Most of us don't have the luxury of starting there. We have to bootstrap. We need to go from 0 to traction. So I'm going to give you 3 easy steps to get that bootstrap startup going and starting to build some revenue. We're going to build an audience. We're going to create systems, and then we're going to learn to automate and delegate. We're going to start by building our audience. And when we do this, especially in the context of 0 to traction, we want to build our audience, but we want to start taking action. We do want to start with understanding, thinking about our ideal customer profile, what we're building that product or service for, and the value proposition that we're delivering. But I don't want to spend too much time there, right? I want to get things into the market. I want to have that propensity towards action over just sitting around and thinking about things. Most of us as entrepreneurs are sitting alone, and this even gets worse, right? Because you just get in your own head and you stir around. So what I'm going to do is have a bias for action. So I'm going to think real quick, hey, who am I building this product for? What does that person look like? What's their role? What are their pains? What are their fears? What am I delivering that's going to make their life better or easier or solve some pain or fear? And then I'm going to hop right into it. And the second part of that is the marketing strategy itself. In my mind and experience, you always start with content marketing. The best way to build an audience is to create little rabbit trails and rabbit holes. So somebody sees something, maybe written by you, or maybe a video that's created by you. They invariably want to see something else and just dig a little bit deeper. If you start building a library of content, it will create those rabbit holes and they will just binge on your content and you as an entrepreneur, and then ultimately your product and the value proposition you're delivering. A component of that, just to make sure that you're getting distribution, is SEO. And again, this applies equally to text as well as video. I suggest that you do both. And then the third kind of piece of that is social media. So most of us don't have an audience to start with. So you really should go into the social media that you like, that you consume, that maybe you're already a part of as a community member, and engage there and leverage those platforms' existing audiences that are like the people that you're trying to go after, probably like you, and then get involved in that community, get involved in there and become an influencer. So leverage that traffic, pull it out, share in your content, and that whole thing will just become a nice flywheel. The other thing that will come out of that flywheel is the opportunity for networking. And again, in my experience, the best way to get as much reach as you possibly can is to network into industry conferences. Believe it or not, most conferences are starved for content. So if you just reach out to that conference and ask to speak, and you've already got this library or volume of content and some things that you can point to that'll give them confidence that they can put you on stage, you're going to get lots of speaking opportunities. And there's no better way to do a sales pitch than to do it to 100 people in an audience versus trying to do it one-to-one and hit all 100 of those folks. The other nice thing is a lot of entrepreneurs, believe it or not, like myself, are introverts. Again, there's no better way to go to a conference because you get on the stage, you talk to 100 people, they all come to you. You don't have to do any of that networking. So that's my tip to get a lot of folks asking you about your product or service. The next thing you want to do is start to create systems. Again, assuming you're going from 0 to traction, you probably don't have a lot of resources to hire folks. And so you're going to be wearing a lot of hats. So as soon as you can, you want to start thinking about how to productize or systematize your business. A few things that I normally start with are, again, making sure that minimum viable product has some systematic way of fulfilling. So if you're doing a services business, you want to start to make sure that you have templates and those sorts of things that will easily allow you to build things and deliver things. If you're doing software, obviously you want to make more systemic those maintenance cycles, maybe those iterations and versions. Of course, systemizing payment mechanisms and those sorts of things. A lot of times folks don't understand how easy it is to go out to a vendor, pay less than you would pay a person, and outsource or systemize a whole thing. First thing I always, when I'm building a business, systematize or outsource is all of my accounting. I hate accounts payable and accounts receivable and all of that. There's a lot of great systems out there to do that. The second piece of this is developing the metrics to run your business, understanding that you only need a few key points and identifying those. Systems will make that easier. Hopefully there's 2 or 3 numbers that you can look at every day and know the health of your business. The third piece or area that is keen for systemization is that sales outreach process. You can stand up a mechanism for list building, a mechanism for actually sending out those emails. Of course, build a sequence, start to optimize and tune that so that it works. And that can be a steady source of leads, maybe even your content and that sort of thing. Again, building systems around that sales outreach and marketing function. The other thing is feedback and iterating that product or that service. One of the things that I always encourage to everybody that I talk to is create a system that gets you testimonials and feedback and those sorts of things. And oftentimes that moment in time where you can get that testimonial, you can get that referral, you can get that feedback is the moment that you deliver the product initially, even before the user starts to use it. So that can be just as simple as sending out an email. Hey, we've got you set up, or we just launched you. What was that experience like? Did we give you a 5-star experience? How can we improve? Hit this link, give me a Google review. So again, systemizing that. And again, that can be automation with email, just automatically goes out every time you launch a customer. Analyzing, optimizing, taking a look at that data that you're starting to gather. And again, making sure that there's some system of collecting that. Most of us are using Google Analytics, probably the analysis package we're most familiar with. Just setting up a couple key views there that allows you to look at a couple numbers and again, know the health of the business that you're creating. And then last but not least, the ability to systemize your campaigns. So if you're doing social media, how do you put together each of those campaigns? Are you doing it based on some themes? Are you doing it based on maybe some time things that are important to your industry? But again, systemizing that, a lot of times you can bring into that some of your early assistants, your early staff. These can be virtual assistants. These can be folks from Upwork. Again, systemizing the way that you're launching out into the marketplace. And last, we need to automate and delegate. I heard a really interesting approach to doing this in a recent podcast. And he said, set or come, to grips with what your hourly rate is. And then everything that cost you more time than that hourly rate, then you want to automate or delegate. At first, you might not have the resources to, again, delegate or outsource some of these things, but you can certainly start to automate. The easiest way, I think, to do this is my tool of choice. There's other tools that will do this, but it's FigJam. And to literally start to map out the business that I'm operating, the things that I'm doing, the ways that the workflow interact. And you can essentially see that system in a 2-dimensional sort of workflow. From there, you can start to look for, circle them or work on actually automating individual parts of that make sense and that are already susceptible to automation. Again, sales outreach, email outreach, cold outreach, those sorts of things. Being able to delegate. So that's the second part. You can look for little pieces in that mind map or that workflow map that you can delegate out, maybe running those campaigns or publishing your content and those sorts of things. Again, ripe for delegation. You can do it relatively low cost because there's things like Upwork and Fiverr and those sorts of things. Again, places to start. But most importantly, you want to understand what the key levers in your business are. For you as an early stage founder, it's probably you personally going out into the marketplace, creating content, showing your influence, showing your expertise out into that market. And a lot of these other things, managing your books and doing the actual publishing of content and a whole variety of other things can probably be, again, automated or delegated out to give you more time to do that high value. To be successful from that period from zero to traction, I always think back to my military experience. And one thing we always said was slow is fast. So it's really important to do these things sequentially and be patient with them. We want to build those audiences first, or that audience. Then we want to start thinking about systemizing the things that we do, and then looking for opportunities to automate and delegate. And just that systematic thinking, even though it may seem a little bit slower at first, will ultimately get you to traction faster and start to give you time to build a better product and a service that can be iterated. And again, you can go through this in an iterative process as well. But most importantly, go through each of these steps, take back your time, and put it on the most important part of your business, which is building that product or service.